Hello everyone, it's me again, Anya, and this is the 10th that I upload to this YouTube channel that I created. I cannot believe it's been 10 videos already. It's been maybe what, like 3 weeks? Maybe even almost pushing it towards a month, which is crazy to think about, just how fast time passes. But I'm quite happy with this channel so far. I am happy that a lot of you guys seem to be watching and really enjoying the base covers, which I will definitely keep coming, as well as these little rant videos that I unfortunately have less time to record because of work. But today, since I'm just here by myself and I already did my makeup, I might film a couple just for you guys. Anyway, today I want to talk about another one of my really big interests lately for some reason, which is the public transport in Hamburg. That includes, of course, everything, every type of vehicle, but I'm mostly interested in the subway and the commuter rail, everything rail related. I'm really passionate about it, and I spent a lot of time um, just really studying all the lines and this history of all the stations. And just, I find it really interesting. I think Hamburg is a very well connected city, and I've had the chance to travel around most of the network by now. So it's been great, and I have my opinions about it, of course. There's good things, there's bad things, but today I thought it would be really nice if I took a look at the whole network and pointed out my top 5 stations in the Hamburg U-bahn, which is the subway. I think S-Bahn, so the commuter rail, I think that deserves its own separate video because it's a very large network, and it just sounds kind of unfair to just kind of put all of it together into one video. Also, the terminology can be a little bit confusing because even though it's called the U-Bahn, which is short for like underground Bahn, so rail or way, the U-Bahn is mostly above ground, which I think is really funny. And same for the S-Bahn, though the S-Bahn also it goes through a tunnel through the city, and there's parts of it that are entirely underground. So it is a bit confusing. So I think we can start with the U-Bahn because it is the one I know the most about, and I think it's the one that has the most fascinating history. I think the origins of it date back to like the early 19th century, like before World War One. So it is one of the oldest metro systems in the world, and I can gap about it. Hold up, I have a map of the whole network pulled up here. Um, Fun fact: I actually emailed the company that offers these services, asking if I could get this map printed out somehow, somewhere, because I really want to hang it up in my room as decoration. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. I'm going to have to go print it myself, which shouldn't be that expensive, but I'm still a bit disappointed in that. Anyway, um, so the very first uh, rail metro subway line that opened here was the current Udai U3, the yellow one. It is a ring line that goes around the center of the city, not quite the old city. That's a much smaller area, but around the inner city. So this is most of where um, I guess most people that commute to work are going to be on this line at some point. It is also that connects a lot of tourist parts of the city and really just the core of the city. Everything else you can see kind of branches off from that. But anyway, um, let's see. Top 5 stations in the Hamburg U-Bahn. Number 5, I would have to say, is probably Schlump. I'm not gonna lie, this is largely because it has such a funny name to me. Um, I think Schlump, it means basically, I think in Low German, it means like mud. So in German, it would be Schlamm. Um, because I think this was built on top of a very like muddy swampland whenever that was built. So it's just called Schlup now. I just think it's really funny that most of them are named after streets or landmarks such as Christuskirche, Kalihuschenstraße, or even Dammtor, right? This is named after the old gate to the inner city that stood there several centuries ago. But then there's just Schlump. It's very catchy, so much so that it is used to identify which way around the city loop the Udai is going. And I think it's really nice that it's one of the only points where you can directly change between the U2, so this red line, the U2, and the Udai. The other being, I believe it's yeah, Berliner. Um, so of course it's good to have one on each side of the loop, and I think it's a pretty important station. The design is pretty okay, but it is very cool that if you're switching between the yellow line, the U3, and the red line, the U2, you have to go down a staircase. I think it's really cool that they kind of stack them on top of each other, which is not very common for such a well, it is a major station, but it's still pretty medium sized. But also Schlump is kind of like the center between well, Schlump and Sternschanze are the center of this like corner of the city. I guess this area, a lot of very visited neighborhoods such as Eppendorf, Hoheluft, of course, Schlump and Sternschanze themselves. Lots of things to see here, lots of businesses to visit, restaurants, probably a couple museums, and of course, nightlife. So it's a very important part. And whereas Sternschanze is the central exchange point for a lot of S-Bahn, Schlump would be the exchange point for a lot of U-Bahns, which is what this list is about. So Schlump is number 5. Number 4 would be, I think it would be Elbbrücken. And the reason for that is that, as you can see, this is the only point where railways can cross the river into the south, because these parts south of the river are also part of Hamburg. Of course, the subway, the U-Bahn, U4, it doesn't go down the river, but it's still a really cool station because you can switch and go down the river. I think it's really cool. The station itself has like a big glass, like cylinder dome ceiling, very modern. I do believe it is the newest U-Bahn station in the entire network, and it is also the endpoint of the U4. Not my favorite line because there's only really 3 stations that didn't exist before. However, I am very hopeful that they're gonna like expand this southward into like Harburg, because I think it would be really cool and very good for all the people living south of the river if the U-Bahn was connected to their neighborhoods. Because so far the only 2 things that connect this is the S3 and the S5. And if we know anything about Deutsche Bahn, they're not as reliable as the U-Bahn. I'm very glad I don't. This is not the commute I have to do. Anyway, a very important station, and very modern, and I think it's very important. I also, I guess, an honorable mention would be Hafen City Universitätsstation because it is just so pretty. However, I think Elbbrücken has more significance, and yeah, and I think it signifies the ongoing growth of the Hamburg public transit, and I love it. Number 3 is another O3 station, but this time over here, Kellinghusenstraße. I really like this station because, of course, it is an important exchange point between the U1, which is the longest subway line in Germany. Riding the whole thing takes about an hour and a half. Yeah, yeah. But this is one of the, well, there's more exchange points between these 2 lines, but this one's really cool because it is, I don't know what the term for it is, but it is one of those stations where if you want to switch lines, you don't have to switch platforms. Like if you're coming here from the north in the blue line, you come to this station, then you get off the train, walk across, and get on the yellow line and continue southward towards the city. I think that's really cool. And same on the way back. It's a really cool station. It is named after one of the mayors of Hamburg. I forgot his name, but his last name was Kellinghusen. Um, it is a really cool station. Again, it is one of the older stations on the network. And I think it's been maintained pretty well. It's very important. I love it. It feels really nice to transfer here. And I love it so much. Yeah. Um, Number 2. What would be my number 2 station? It would have to be Landungsbrücken. Honestly, this whole stretch of the Udai between Rödingsmarkt and Landungsbrücken is insane. It is very much, I would say, it is very iconic. This stretch here is why the Hamburg company that administers the subway is called the Hochbahn, or elevated railway, because this stretch here is not just above ground, but it is elevated and it goes right alongside the river. So it's got some beautiful views. No matter if you go there in the day or at night, it looks so pretty and I love it so much. But of course, I only want to pick one of these. And frankly, I think the most iconic one is Landungsbrücken. It is, of course, an important exchange point with all these S-Bahn lines. It is also, it is right next to the St. Pauli piers, which is where you want to, if you want to get up on like a river cruise ship or boat trip, that's where you gotta go. So it is very important, very touristy, and I would recommend absolutely everyone to that visits this beautiful city to take this stretch of stations here. Very important, I guess, of the all the stations. So like of Feldstraße, St. Pauli, and Landungsbrücken, the three U-Bahn stations in St. Pauli. This is my favorite. It is just really really cool. Really has preserved the history of the city for very very long, and of course the views are spectacular. But of course, my number one pick for the best number one U-Bahn station in the Hamburg network is gotta be the GOAT, Jungfernstieg. Not Hauptbahnhof, but Jungfernstieg. Jungfernstieg is the only station where you can switch between all U-Bahn lines. I guess Hauptbahnhof is technically one station short, it's one place, but you have to switch between Hauptbahnhof Nord or North and Süd or South, and that can be very impractical. If I'm trying to switch from here to here to get on the red line, it's a hassle. However, Jungfernstieg, one same station, you can switch between all of them. I guess the Udai is kind of an exception because it's Rathaus, so the town hall, also really peak. But there is a tunnel that connects you to all of these, and it doesn't take as long as transferring between Hauptbahnhof Central Station South and Central Station North. So I'm gonna count them as one station for here. It is, of course, it is very historically significant because again, it is a central exchange point between all the lines. This station has been existing for a long time, I think since the 1920s or 30s, and it is also very architecturally significant. Fun fact, this is the first underwater subway station in the world. And the fact that, because it is beneath the lake, the small lake in the city. So the fact that they did that in the 1930s, and it is currently also has 3 floors, because this is also where you exchange into these S-Bahn lines. It is just frankly architecturally impressive. It is really, if you come to Hamburg to visit, you're gonna have to go through this station, and I think you'll enjoy it very much. Everything to see starts from here, everything branches from here, everything passes through here. Even the new U5 or U5 line that they're working on and started building, I think last year, it's gonna go through Jungfernstieg. So it is a very important station, and yeah, it is. Again, it's really beautiful, beautifully designed, and I think it just fulfills its purpose like no other station does. Is it a bit crowded? Yes, but it is a central exchange point. What did you expect? I think I really have no complaints. I just gotta respect it so much. It is everything a subway station should be. Um, and yeah, I think that is my top five. Let's go back to just me. That was my top five Hamburg U-Bahn stations. Honorable mention, Feldstraße. I have a mug of this station, which is where I actually commute to work. Also a very good station because it's right next to this really cool bunker and a really nice croissant shop. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. Again, I don't know how the fuck I somehow managed to just talk about the Hamburg subway for 15 minutes. But if you listened all the way through, hey yo, just fucking hit me up. I would love to talk about this forever. and I just find it really interesting. Stay tuned for the S-Bahn list. Stay tuned for other German cities. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot. And I will end this with my mug. Mm, Thank you for watching. Bye.